In the previous module, I showed you how to use dmessage, and toward the end of that video, I showed you how to access the log file, the kern.log file, which is going to contain your dmessages. Even if they get cleared, you're still going to have them from days gone by in your kern.log file. I now want to turn your attention to the var log folder itself. So we want to cd into var log, and then as we list the contents, you can see there are several log files in here which are very important. If you're troubleshooting the system, you're going to need to dig into these log files occasionally, and I love how simple Ubuntu makes it. Again, your major log files are located here in var log. No need to go searching for them. Now, I've already talked about the kern.log file. However, there is also the boot.log, auth.log, and syslog. Those are just some of the frequently used log files. You also have one for dpackage, dpkg.log. Again, all of these are important, but those are just some of the basic ones that you'll be using on a regular basis troubleshooting systems. You'll be using auth.log, boot.log, syslog in particular. Let's go ahead and concatenate that now. We're going to go ahead and cat syslog, and we're going to dump that into a pager. And again, you can see that this system goes all the way back to July 16th. And so there's a lot of information here in the syslog. Now, the syslog is something that you're going to be using for looking at kernel activities. So the activity of the kernel is going to be in your syslog. In your auth.log, there's going to be information about authentication. Right? So auth.log, authentication, that makes sense. We're talking about when people are using sudo, when users on the system are using sudo, if they're trying to use sudo but they're not in the sudoers file, if people are entering incorrect passwords, incorrect login attempts and things like that are going to be in auth.log. Boot.log, as you would imagine, is going to have more information about booting up, and we can actually go ahead and show you that now. Again, concatenate boot.log, and I am going to stick that in a pager. And so you can see information here listed in the boot log. Now, your boot log is not going to be as long as the other files. It's not going to be as long as the other files because it's going to be overwritten. So each time you boot here, you're going to get a new boot.log. And so you're not going to have any of your boot information from days gone by. You can look at dmessage, which will have some of that information. But again, when you're getting into these log files, you're not just reading these like the newspaper. These aren't fun to read. I don't know any system administrator that actually likes reading log files. We like getting to the bottom of issues. We like solving problems, and we use log files to do that. Usually, we're going to be using grep with these log files. We're not even going to be sticking them, into a pager. We don't want to look at all that output most of the time. We really just want to see what's going on in that file with a, particular user, a particular piece of hardware, or something like that. I'll go ahead and open up auth.log so you can take a look here, and you can get an idea of the type of information that is going to be listed here in auth.log. So you can see when I have used, as the Kodi user, the sudo command. Okay, so you can see when the sudo session was opened and when it was closed. You can see if anybody is entering an incorrect password in here. You can see if somebody's trying to use sudo. If you notice, if you have a user account which is not in the sudoers file and they try to use sudo, then it'll say this user's not in the sudoers file. This will be reported, and it's going to be reported in auth.log. So in auth.log, you can see, this user here, Rachel, was trying to use sudo, but she doesn't have sudo privileges. So you go and talk to Rachel and say, hey, what were you trying to do on the system using sudo? Okay, so that's a brief look at these log files. Again, you're not reading these for fun or for pleasure. You're reading them for troubleshooting and trying to get to the bottom of an error. So, Ubuntu makes it very convenient with the var log directory and all of these different files in here. And if you're confused about which log file you need to look into for particular errors, you can create a discussion here on the course or send me a private message. I'd be happy to walk you through that a little bit, but I think most of them are self-explanatory. Auth.log deals with authentication. Boot.log deals with the boot process. We've already talked about kern.log, which is going to have your D messages. Syslog is going to have kernel or system activities logged. Dpackage.log, you can guess what that's going to do. It's going to be a log for dpackage. Okay, so all those things I think are pretty self-explanatory, but if you do have questions, be sure to let me know, and I would love to answer those for you.